Hello and welcome to Morning Brew on Labour Social. I'm Graham Hughes. It is Wednesday the 27th of September 2023 and yet more Tory carnage in the news. We'll talk a little bit later about Suella Braverman's disgusting speech yesterday at this mysteriously funded think tank in America, right-wing think tank funded by the likes of ExxonMobil and Eli Lilly, and other unscrupulous people. We've got other things in the news as well. I don't know if you noticed, if you saw it, but the SIS commanders taking down Matt Hancock was a joy to behold. I saw a clip of that this morning. Lawrence Fox has just said the most disgusting, outrageous, sexist, misogynistic arsehole of things they could possibly say on GB News. It was so bad that even Dan Wootton, yes, alleged sex offender, Dan Wootton said, "Oh, that's a bit much." I mean, okay, wow. So they're off the deep end. They're off the deep end. But the big news today, aside from everything else, HS2 and Suella Braverman deciding that gay people or women shouldn't fear who are not living in fear of their lives, shouldn't be refugees, when people only really become refugees because they are literally in fear of their lives. But the big news this morning is that the Rose Bank oil field has now been opened, basically, for it's been approved by regulators for drilling oil out the ground. It's extinction juice, the stuff that is made of carbon, that we're taking out of the ground where it's safely stored away. It's already captured. The carbon has already been captured. It was captured millions of years ago. It's now under the ground where we should keep it forever because the literal world is freaking well on fire. We've got a named storm coming into the UK today, Storm Agnes, which will hit where I am in Durham around 7 or 8 o'clock, I think, tonight. Named storm. We didn't used to have named storms when I was growing up because they were so rare. Now we do. When your house gets ripped up, when your tiles get ripped off your roof, or last year when we had literal bloody wildfires in the UK destroying people's homes. But yeah, Sunak, whatever, mate, you just take your money and run, because I guarantee, I was talking to Phil about this after the show yesterday, as soon as Sunak loses the next election, and oh my God, he's going to lose, the only question is just by how much, he is out of here. He is going to America. He's going to pick up his green card from where he left off, and he's never coming back. Oh, that was the other thing. He's bringing in inheritance tax. He wants to get rid of it. So I'm just going to do a little sum here on my piece of paper. I've got a little piece of paper here. So what I'm going to have to pay in inheritance tax. Now I've worked this out because you actually get £500,000 tax-free off your parents, each parent, right? So that's £1 million, up to £1 million you can inherit from your parents and not pay any tax at all on that. So I'm just working out, even if it's half that, even if it's just 500,000, yeah, I pay no tax. Zero. That I've done the sums. It's zero. That's how much tax I will have to pay on my inheritance, even if wasn't even coming from my parents, and it was, I think, 320,000. Yeah, still zero. Yeah, that's the amount of inheritance tax that I will have to pay. How much will Sunak's children have to pay on their current fortune, which will only grow, but let's just say the current fortune, if they were in a hideous helicopter collision tonight, 300 million. They'll have to pay 300 million to the Exchequer. 300 million that we could spend on schools, hospitals, infrastructure, railways, public services, sewers, sewage treatment. 300 million pounds. I have to pay nothing. They have to pay 300,000. Okay, cool. Right. And they're having a whinge in the newspapers about, get this, the fact that the Labour are going to put 20% on private school fees. Private school fees. So let's just have a quick look at this over on our little Morning Brew papers thing here. The Mirror leading with Poisonous. Sorry, I just chopped my hand off there. Going a bit Marty McFly. Look at that. Poisonous from The Mirror. Yes. Yeah. She is. Nasty new low in migrant speech. But this is the one that I wanted to point out. Labour's class war. Class war. I don't know if that's a pun because it's about schools, but are you serious? Labour's class war. Only 7% of kids go to private schools. And I guarantee that if you can afford £30,000 a year to send little Tarquin, little Guinevere off to a private school, you can afford to pay VAT on that. I absolutely 100% guarantee it with everything I know and everything I'm made of. I know you can afford that because you can afford £30,000 a year to send your kid to school, which is more than the vast majority of people in the United Kingdom make in a year salary. Oh, there's no wealth like inherited wealth, eh? Anyway, so there's that. I mean, literally everything. All this is going down at once. The Scottish Greens are saying that the future is being burnt for profit, which is very true. Let's not forget that Emphasis, which is where our Prime Minister derives most of his wealth, him and his wife own, I think it's like £800 million worth of shares. So it's 700 million. What's 100 million between friends? Anyway, worth of shares in Emphasis, a company, Indian tech company that is still operating in sanction-hit Russia, which it shouldn't be. And our Prime Minister is still making money out of a company that is still trading with Russia, while we're supposed to be allies with Ukraine. Okay, if you say so, mate. Yeah, allies with Ukraine. Yeah, boosterism all the way. Yeah, we're gonna make things better by just talking about it and pretending that the reality isn't happening. And the reality is this. In 1975, after the death of Salazar and the overthrow of his government, I mean, in Portugal, I mean, if you're going to be a bad guy, if you're going to be a fascist dictator, I mean, Salazar's a pretty cool name for a fascist dictator, I've got to say. If you were going to write a script about a dictator who was horrible, murdered people, Salazar, you can't go wrong with that, can you? Anyway, Salazar died in 1973. There was a brief period where it looked like there was probably going to be a civil war in Portugal. But in 1975, after years of fighting in Angola and Mozambique, these African colonies of Portugal gained independence. Portugal was one of the first countries, I think the first country in Europe that had an African colony, which was Ceuta, which is now part of Spain, in fact, back in 1415. Someone check me on that. It was one of the last to pull out, and it did so in 1975. Now, my point is this. They left under a bit of a cloud, shall we say, because there were civil wars pretty much going on in Angola and Mozambique at the time, which had been pushed by Cold War ideology. So you had one side that was being supported by the USSR, you had another side that was being supported by the Western Allies, and it was all ideological, and it was the Africans who lived in these countries who just got caught in the crossfire, and literally hundreds of thousands, millions of people died as a result. But that's not what I want to concentrate on. What I want to concentrate on is the fact that the Portuguese pulled out overnight in both Angola and Mozambique. I believe they left just one university graduate in Angola. In Luanda, the capital, they completely, it was like a ghost town. It was the fastest airlift in history, I think, still, of getting Portuguese families, Portuguese citizens out of the country, leaving the country in absolute disarray. In Mozambique, they went a stage further. They actually burnt ships. They burnt ships on the way out. They poured concrete down wells on the way out. They were like, well, if you don't want us ruling you, then we'll leave you to it. Oh, by the way, we'll just destroy some of your infrastructure before we go. Buildings were set on fire, cars were set on fire, boats were set on fire, concrete poured down wells. Not great. Not a great moment of Portuguese European history, but you know, they trashed the place on the way out. And that's what Sunak's doing now. A bit of irony, I guess, because Sunak is ethnically Indian, even though he's British. He was born here. And he is Hindu. He's our first Hindu prime minister. which in some ways just shows that multiculturalism is working. Unlike Suella Braverman, she thinks that it's not working. But the point being is that Britain did something very similar when we pulled out of, I'm saying we, the royal we, Britain, when Britain pulled out of India in 1947, we were supposed to have like a 5-year handover of power that would have, facilitated the birth of a new civil service, solidified the borders, made sure that there were British and Indian and Pakistani troops, making sure that corridors were available for people who wanted to move from one place to another because of partition. But instead of doing that, we pulled out. Britain pulled out and 1 million people died as a result of Britain pulling out. 1 million people. Maybe this is, revenge of the people of India on Britain. What Sunak is doing. Which, you know what? All things being equal, I can't really blame them for. But at the same time, he's not just taking down Britain and maybe not pouring concrete down wells, but the schools are crumbling apart. Our NHS is crumbling apart. Waiting list is now over 7 million? Is it 7 million? We've got nearly 200,000 people waiting to find out if their claim for asylum is going to be accepted. We have the government spending 1.6 billion on barges to put migrants on because reasons. It's all there. It's all there. It's all happening. But the big thing is not just the trashing of the economy. It's the trashing of the planet. If we open, this is what's happening now. This, the Rosebank bloody oil field has been approved. So all these licenses are going out. It's estimated to contain 500 million barrels of oil. And we're going to burn that, and we're going to put that into the atmosphere. And Sunak has pushed back the date on when we're going to have electric cars, or all new cars be electric, from 2030 to 2035. He's also dialed back on a lot of environmental considerations that they were going to put in place. So the legacy of this Tory party is going to be zero. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. They'll have done less than nothing. They would have just damaged the country. They would have spent 14 years in power doing everything in their power, austerity, Brexit, their response to COVID, doing everything in their power to destroy the country on the way out. And then Sunak's going to pack up his stuff and he's going to disappear off into the sunset, literally heading west to California, like Frodo at the end of Lord of the Rings. Ian 2, £5 super chat. Thank you very much. Never mind Sunak being Indian or British. He's paid by us to serve our interests. Thank you very much. Yes, I know. I was just drawing a parallel with when Britain had an opportunity to, make things right and sort of make sure that after 300 years of colonization and domination and abuse of people in India, they would, and Pakistan, West Pakistan, and East Pakistan at the time, they might, consider having a handover of power that facilitated things being nice. But no, we kind of trash things on the way out. And that's what the Tory party are doing. They're trashing things on the way out. They are feathering their nests. They are gathering as much money as they possibly can. You look at this, what's her name? Cruella. You look at Suella Braverman's speech yesterday at this Institute for Economic Arseholes, or whatever it's called, in America. And the stuff that she was coming out with is just, it's like manna from heaven for the right-wing libertarian bastards who just want to watch the world burn. It's people who are millionaires, billionaires, some of them. And they just hate everyone who's not rich like them. They hate other rich people as well. They're just, their entire motive on this planet is hate. Why did she do that speech? Why did she do it now, just a week before the Tory party conference? People are saying, oh, well, she's setting herself up to get sacked. No, mate. She's setting herself up for life to have jobs, doing this kind of thing, going over to America and saying immigrants are bad. I wouldn't let my parents in, says Suella Braverman to a group of white people who are like clapping. Oh, yeah, well done. She's one of us. And I'm like, oh my God, she literally wouldn't let her own parents into this country. If she was in charge of this country, she'd be like, no, you can't come in. Oh, you're people of Indian heritage living in Africa. Oh, okay. And you feel like people are being a little bit prejudiced against you. Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry, you'll have to find somewhere else to live because unless you're literally dead, we don't really care. Caring, sharing Britain of the 21st century. Anyway, right, back into the chat. How you doing? Um, what's this called? I don't drink Zelensky's Kool-Aid. Okay, I'm just gonna get rid of you because I don't like people putting in stuff that's pro-Russian on my chat. You've got loads of pro-Russian channels, mate. You've got propaganda going back decades from back to the USSR, the KGB. You've got bot farms in Siberia and Serbia. Yeah. Don't need me. You don't need to be here. All right, and unless you're getting paid to do this, you're not getting paid. Oh my god! But if I assume you're getting paid to troll and go, I don't believe that. Russia did nothing wrong. I'm like, oh really? You mean the country that invaded and stole 1/3 of Georgia in 2008? Yeah, did nothing. Sorry, what was that? It did nothing. So the country that's literally invaded and taken 1/5 of Ukraine, it's done nothing wrong. It's literally invaded someone else's country, mate. It's done something wrong. That's wrong, you see. And you can't just go, oh, well, there's Russian people speaking there. Yeah, there's English people speaking in America. There's English-speaking people in America or Canada or New Zealand or South Africa. We can't invade those countries to protect the English-speaking people. That's not a thing. That's not a thing that is done because that's ridiculous. Can Spain just go and invade, I don't know, Mexico because it's got Spanish-speaking people? Or even better, Mexico invades Texas because there's Spanish-speaking people in Texas, and they are actually being discriminated against. My God, there's still people out there. I hope they're getting paid. I hope you're getting paid well, mate. I hope you sleep well at night, getting paid for saying all this crap. Thanks, Nick and Diff, for raising my awareness of that. I turn away for 5 minutes. Sorry, Graham. Yes, Reagan Elise. It's all your fault. No, it's not a joke. I'm joking. You're doing a great job. One of my mods there, who is awesome. Why were they clapping a Nazi in the Canadian Parliament? Well, that's all gone down, hasn't it? Because the Speaker of the House, is it the Speaker of the House? He recognised this old guy and said, "Oh, he's a Ukrainian war hero," and everyone's like, "I don't know who that guy is." Okay, and then they realised he was a massive Nazi. Yeah, he was a massive Nazi. Now, I'd like to think that Zelensky didn't clap the massive Nazi on purpose. I like to think that he didn't know who he was, because don't forget, Zelensky is Jewish. So yeah, that was a bit awkward. Well done, Canadian Parliament, dickheads. How about you vet people before you go, hey, there's a Ukrainian in the house. Let's all give a round of applause to this Ukrainian who killed lots of Ukrainians and Jews. Great. What can you do? Stupid's gonna stupid. And don't forget, I mean, I don't mind. I mean, the thing is, though, it's a bit weird because you got people in sort of other countries, like, Macron in France and I forgot his name now. the Canadian president, prime minister, even. Oh god, Justin Trudeau. Sorry, absolute brain fart there. You got people like Trudeau, and you've got people like Macron, who are, they're pretty central right. I mean, they're not the people that I would necessarily want in charge, but the alternative right now is just so hideous. It's so twisted with hatred of everything, everyone, the living world. These are people who hate the living world. These are people who watch David Attenborough wildlife documentaries, seething. They're like, that little bastard. Look at those fish swimming around, being all beautiful and colourful. Look at that bird doing this elaborate courtship dance. I hate them. And you're like, really? This is where we are now. This is where we are in the 2020s, right? We've got very, very rich people getting angry at nature. They go out and shake their fist. Shut up, birds, singing in the morning. Grah. How dare you grow things in that field? Oh, we'll stop that. We'll take away your subsidies so you have to grow, I don't know, solar panels. But yeah, it's just bizarre. Why do they hate the world so much? Why do people like Sunak see their money as more important than their children's future? And you've got to see how this is linked to the whole, we need to stop what's it called? Inheritance tax coming in. Got to stop inheritance tax. Oh, why is that? Well, the kids are going to need the money to defend themselves against the mob. The literal mob of 8 billion people who's going to want their money or want where they live or want their fortress. And you see, the environmental apocalypse is going to be a lot like the zombie apocalypse in that it's not going to kill everybody, but it'll be a great leveler because it's not going to be about who's got the most money. It's going to be about who's got the biggest stick. Stick. I said stick. And that's a brutal, nasty, and short life that I would not like anyone to have to live, even Rishi Sunak, even though he is quite short. I don't want that. I don't want that for my family. I don't want that for my friends. I don't want that even for my enemies. I'd like them to be brought to justice, but, living in a dying world where there's not enough food to feed everyone and there's billions of people moving because they can't stay where they are. And don't forget, we're going to have climate refugees in this country, the way things are going, because the sea levels are going to rise. And although they might build a big bloody fuck off wall to protect London, they're not going to do that to Hull. See you later, Hull. Hull is below sea level, mate. It's done for. It's gone. It's over. It's the M62 will literally be the road to nowhere. It used to be the road to Hull, and now it's the road to nowhere. Anyway, so because Graham, they know the cost of everything and the value of nothing. Well, they don't even know the cost of anything. All very well saying how lovely nature is going, but have you ever met an angry honey badger? I'll have you now. Yes. Yeah, but do you know? Like, I watched a documentary about a honey badger, and I'm like, oh, what a cool little beastie. That's so cool. I don't think. Oh, do you know what I could do with drilling all this oil out the ground and burning it to help destroy their habitat quicker? Because I don't think they should exist. I don't think these animals should exist. I mean, we talk about breed-specific legislation. We literally have in this country like species-specific legislation, which targets certain species, endangered species around the world, and we are seeing the biggest loss of ecodiversity since the dinosaurs were wiped out by an asteroid. An asteroid. That's how big a loss to our, the species of the planet we are facing right now. And Rishi Sunak is just there, at the coalface. He's just shoveling in more coal, literally, into the furnace. Burn, carbon, burn. Like an absolute swivel-eyed lunatic. I just want to jump back into the papers for a minute because I just wanted to show some of the mad headlines. It's one of those days where every headline seems to be different. But the Daily Express is following its orders from the Conservative HQ because they are talking about the salaries of the HS2 fat cats. They're turning people against HS2 now because that's the new government line. They weren't doing that much when it was actually the government line, but now it's not going to be the government line. It looks like Rishi Sunak is going to sack off the northern leg of the HS2 line from the Midlands up to the north, from Birmingham to Manchester. They're going to sack it off. And so they've been told, they've had a phone call from number 10 Downing Street. Hello, could you run a headline slagging off HS2 for something? Okay, is it the fact that it's digging up all these virgin forests and destroying all this environment? No, we don't care about the environment. Make it about something else. Say that people are earning too much money. Okay, yeah, people are earning too much money. That's been the problem. Fat cats, and not Conservative MPs, because they're not fat cats at all. Even though they might have 2 or 3 or 4 or maybe 7 other jobs where they literally earn millions. Sit on the boards of directors of companies or just have shares in a company that has a deal with BP worth 1.5 billion. And that might be good for them. And Braverman saying, Braverman, a woman who's ethnically from the East, is saying immigration is a threat to the West. Couldn't make it up. Poisonous. Yes, we saw that. And then the Daily Star saves the world. We take decisive action. I don't know what the Daily Star is wibbling on about there. And then we're talking about lockdown damage to children in the Telegraph, which panders to some of the more, conspiratorially minded idiots out there who think they're clever because they read a broadsheet, but actually it's a tabloid. You can tell it's a tabloid because it's got this privately educated knobhead here, Isabel Oakeshott, talking about, to regain public trust, the Tories must scrap inheritance tax. Yeah, easy for a millionaire to say, eh, Isabel? Oh, God, I hate them. Anyway, feminist approach to cancer could save 800 1,000 women's lives a year. That doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of sexism, misogyny, and racism in the medical field. And we can talk about this on a future episode of The Intersection, I'm sure, at some point, and we'll have someone who actually has lived that experience with us to talk about that. Private schools go to battle with Labour over 20% VAT in first year of winning power. So the private Tory schools, the See You Next Tuesday farms, as I like to call them, which produce 99% of the people who hold power in this country, any kind of power. If you don't believe me, head over to privateschoolmafia.com. I'm just going to put the link in the chat here, privateschoolmafia.com. Read that list. You will absolutely cack your pants. If you haven't seen it already, it is a list of people in the public eye who went to private school. And the list is coming up to nearly 700 people in the public eye. In the public eye. It's not just like, here's a list of people who went to private school. No, it's people who are in the government, people who run businesses, people who are on the TV, actors and dancers and Olympic athletes, and yeah, it's just incredible. 5 suspects accused of being members of a Russian spy ring. This is on The Independent. And the NHS staff too scared to report rogue nurses who abuse patients. This is coming back off the back of the Lucy Letby scandal, where the warning signs were ignored for many years and babies died as a direct result. And Suella saying yesterday it's too easy to be a refugee. And also there's a US lawsuit going against Amazon at the moment, which is a monopoly, and uses its market muscle to to dominate the opposition. And even in America, they don't like, they say they don't like monopolies. They try and break them up, but they don't break them up as much as they used to. When the old Rockefeller found it, what was it called? The Rockefeller had to be split up into like SO, Standard Oil, and something else. I don't know. Texaco. Someone who knows more about the history of the oil stuff could let me know. Oil companies. I mean, just how evil are they? There was a war between Paraguay and Bolivia about 90 years ago, and it was basically one side was, I don't know, BP, and the other side was like funded by Shell. Like it was a war between two oil giants, and it was literally the people of Paraguay and Bolivia who paid the price for it. Thousands of people died, and in the end, they didn't find any oil in the fields where they thought there might be oil. So it was a speculative oil war that actually happened. And also, if you look at the damage that the oil companies have done around the world, not just to the climate, but also to the local environment, when things like the Piper Alpha disaster, which killed people, and also the Deepwater Horizon disaster, which was incredibly bad for the environment in the Gulf of Mexico. And then also you've got situations like what you have in the Niger Delta in Nigeria, which has been trashed. Been absolutely trashed because of pipelines, leaky oil pipelines that come in from the sea, and people tap into them and take the oil out, and there's so many leaks, and it just gets into the groundwater and just destroys all the vegetation and life. And oil is awful. Oil is absolutely awful, and what we need to be doing is moving away from a car-centric model of our existence and move towards a human model where we actually build cities and towns and habitations around the needs of humans rather than around the needs of cars. But obviously the fossil fuel lobby is pushing back against that, so much so that they are having AstroTurf campaigns, fake grassroots campaigns, against 15-minute cities, because they're the biggest threat facing humanity at the moment. The idea that you should be able to have everything that you need, your shops, your work, your gym, your pub, all within 15-minute walk or cycle of where you live. That sounds great. That sounds amazing. Let's do that. Let's just do that. We can. We have the power. We have the tools. We have the talent. We just need to get the talentless tools out of bloody number 10 first, so we can get on with the job. Right. Thank you very much for watching. Metro is owned by Daily Mail. Did you see Bezos change the head of Blue Origin on Monday? Is now headed to the person who leads the Alexa projects for him. I didn't notice that. Sorry, I've not been keeping Jeff Bezos watch much. Most animals are. It's not Disney made. Well, yeah. Sorry, I was talking about the honey badger, wasn't I? It's fascinating. I mean, you know, they'll kill you. They'll rip your face off, but God, it's fascinating. I don't want sharks. I hate spiders. I don't want spiders to die. I don't want all the spiders to be wiped out overnight because, you know, climate change or whatever. That would suck. I have a feeling that spiders wouldn't be wiped out. I think they're going to be like cockroaches. I think they're still going to be here at the end, the heat death of the universe. But, you know, it's like picking on animals and going, well, that one's cute, so we'll save that. And it's I think Chris Packham wrote about this a few years ago, didn't he? About the panda syndrome of like, we want to save the cute animals, but actually we should be just saving all animals, whether they're cute or not. Good point. A very good point. Auto cabbage, or someone's been auto cabbaged, which happens now and again. But yes, so what else have we got in the news? So yeah, I've covered the untapped oil field with 500 million barrels of oil that they're going to burn and destroy the planet and destroy your kids' future with. There's a horrible story that's come out of northern Iraq, where more than 100 people were killed in a fire at a wedding. It's just it's horrible. Doesn't bear thinking about. The stuff in it. I'm just looking at the BBC front page here, see if I missed anything big this morning. We've got a UK first drug consumption room to get go ahead, which would allow people to take their own drugs in a hygienic environment under supervision, which I massively support. Crisis of children missing. School needs bolder measures. There's been an IT failure, so kids are off school today in the UK. Kids have been off school because of COVID. Kids have been off school now because of rack concrete. There's a school near where I live called St. Leonard's, which the kids are going into school like 2 or 3 days a week. The older kids are being bused somewhere 14 miles away to do their GCSE studies. So, or A levels, I can't remember which. But basically, it's a cluster F, and it's all the Tories' fault. That's all you need to know today on Wednesday, the 27th of September. Now, under normal circumstances, I'll be saying, join us. Oh, hello, Talentless Tools. Graham, you wagyu. Thank you very much. I quite enjoyed doing that. I thought of it as I said it. Okay, so I put together a quote from the Ghostbusters with a dig at the Tories. Thank you very much. I appreciate the £2 super chat. So normally I'd say, hey, join me at 12 o'clock for the thing, Prime Minister's questions. But I've got a couple more weeks to set up Prime Minister's questions bingo, which is going to be like an overlay on the screen whenever we call bingo on the typical things that Rishi Sunak does. It will be worse under Labour. You supported Jeremy Corbyn. Jesus Christ. We're delivering. You get a bonus. If he says delivering 3 times in Prime Minister's questions, you win the jackpot. Anyway, Rupert Murdoch will become one of those talking heads in Futurama when he dies. Along with Nixon. Nixon's back. Cathal, thank you very much for the €3 super chat there. Did you see Trump's New York codes of in serious trouble? Yes, Cathal. Oh my God. I was about to sign off, and you are absolutely right. I haven't talked about this. Maybe I'll do a video about it later today, because obviously I'm not doing Prime Minister's questions today, because there's no Prime Minister's questions, because it is conference season. It was the Lib Dem conference this weekend and up to today. And then next week is, this weekend and up to next Wednesday is going to be the Tory Party conference, which is just going to be horrific, and there'll be loads of footage of Tories saying and doing the most horrific things. And then the week after that is the Labour Party conference. And please join us for the Labour Social Live. If you are in Liverpool, anyone can come. It is at the Camp and Furnace on the 9th of October. Monday the 9th of October at 5 o'clock. It's £3 to get a ticket via Eventbrite in advance. If you want to pay on the door, it's going to be £5. But if you are a channel member or you are a patron of this channel or myself, you are you get it for free. You get it for free. There should be a code. I think someone was saying they couldn't find the code, but I'll get it to you. Don't worry beforehand. And there's plenty of tickets, so don't worry about us running out of tickets. It's one of those where like literally we can use a bigger room if we sell too many tickets. So don't worry, it's not going to sell out. Tox, but yes, it might sell out. So buy a ticket. History repeating. That's the Conservative way. But Sadiq is not doing any favours with you, Les, says Paul. Well, I would argue otherwise, but I don't have time because we are 7 minutes over time now, and I need to go because the washing machine in the room next door is about to start, and it's going to make a hell of a racket. So Professionalism all the way. One day we'll have our own studio. It'll be fantastic. Lawrence Fox has been suspended. Oh, brilliant. I know he's apologised, but he's been suspended. Well, that's good. I hope he gets suspended from something else one day. I won't say what because I'll get demonetised forever. Okay, right. Thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. Phil will be back in the morning at 9:30 for a more, I don't know, chilled out, relaxed, possibly more informed morning brew. But until then, thank you very much for the chat. Thank you very much for the comments. Thank you very much for the super chats. And until next time, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.